Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. I'm your host, Anish Gupta.
And I'm Srikar Gendron.
We're back. It's been a while. We took a week off. Sorry. No, but we're back now, and it's just a dead week of football. But we're gonna bring you some topics that I guess will intrigue you. But there has been some news, and there has been news on this case for the last 1.5 years. And obviously, me being a Browns fan, I've had to endure it for so long now. Texans fans, I feel you. You weren't relevant anyway, but at least this was your source of relevancy. And the Browns are staying in the news for not the best reasons. But when I first saw it, I was, I I didn't look at it from whether he was innocent or guilty. I just looked at it from a smile, thinking like, oh my gosh, can we finally see the end of this thing? Obviously, for those who haven't seen yet, Deshaun Watson has settled 20 out of 24 active civil suits. And I know people are saying, but what about, wasn't it supposed to be 26? The other two are pending, but apparently they are imminent. But currently, there are four that have yet to be settled, starting with the main perpetrator, Ashley Solis, who was the first one to come out and basically start this whole thing. So there was a statement issued by the plaintiff's lawyer, Tony Bushby, I believe that's how you say, or Busby, however you say it. He issued a statement with the whole thing, obviously giving some context as to why this whole thing started, and then kind of the current situation we're at now. Obviously, showing love to the rest of the woman who even settled it, but saying that it's not done yet. Now, my initial thoughts, I guess I'll kind of go, is that I think the NFL wanted Deshaun Watson to settle. And it's crazy because Deshaun was very adamant in saying he would, and he was very adamant about saying that he was, fully innocent. So what does the settling mean? Does it mean, the woman were doing it all for the money and it was just about what amount was good enough? Or is it Deshaun Watson's guilty? The woman finally stopped. He was finally able to get it, under their noses, and he won't be having to answer questions about it. That's the problem. We'll never know the answer. And, maybe that benefits Deshaun, maybe that benefits the woman financially. You can look at it from both lenses, but there have been multiple sources that have said it's not going to affect the NFL's disciplinary conclusion. And I don't know if I necessarily agree. I think it should play a little bit of a part. Just because, there's no conviction. So I can't, the NFL just can't act like on and, basically give him the same type of punishment as others who were convicted. He was not. So I think that's where it kind of goes a little bit hung out to dry. But it definitely doesn't put Deshaun in the best light. I feel like there's up and down ways to look at it.
So I guess when we look at the headline and we see, 24 cases goes down to 4. Well, first of all, because I know there's people on Twitter, and NFL Twitter is just a whole different kind of area. So it does not mean that he's innocent. It does not mean that he's guilty. It just means the cases were settled. That's literally all it means. And you're right. He was adamant about settling the cases. I'm pretty sure
Not settling the cases.
about not settling it. I'm pretty sure they were offering like $100,000, and he was not going through with it. So the price point isn't in the news right now because that's privacy. But I will say that, and I've told Anish and Jack this. I've pretty much told anyone this, but the way I think this is going to play out is the league is not going to put a timeline on this suspension. I think they are going to say he is just suspended indefinitely until this whole thing gets sorted out, which could, possibly end his 2022 season and could play out into 2023. Who knows? But yeah, I just think if you're looking at it from Roger Goodell's perspective, this is going to take, Watson out of the headlines for a good amount of time while they settle things, and it's not going to become just a weekly assortment of Watson headlines to take away from the actual games. So I think from a business perspective, this is what Goodell will do. And I think it is going to come pretty much early July. Like July 1st, it's going to be a holiday weekend. And the NFL just loves to bury all the negativity surrounding their league in these holiday weekends so that they can focus on other things. So I think that is when it's going to happen. But as far as if anyone asked me, hey Shrikar, how long do you think he's going to be suspended? I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to say suspended indefinitely. That's
Uh, I mean, well, I don't really know the truth behind the NFL holiday weekend thing. I just know from different people that they want to get it done by July 7th because that's when minicamp starts. Um,
exactly. And they
so I
have
think
little
I expect something like that as well. What you're saying makes very logical sense. Obviously, the Browns fan in me does not want that to happen, but it makes the most sense. I've seen people say, different, at least they're credible, that the NFL is trying to push for like a 60 game suspension, which is like one of the biggest ever dealt out.
Yep.
I don't know because they're not gonna ban him. I don't think they can't. I don't think they can ban him from the league like they did Ray Rice. I don't think that's gonna happen. Um, I still the problem the NFL is facing is just like they will get backlash no matter what they do. If they do too much, people will say it's too much. If they do 6 to 8 games, they'll say it's way too little, and people will say, "Oh, that was he shouldn't have been suspended at all because he's already gotten a year." Like there's so much at
Well, that's why I said if they suspend him indefinitely,
yeah,
you're not gonna
that's
get
why
that.
I agree with you. I think it would be the most logical sense. But the only problem is it would keep him out for now, but you're just pushing it back. You just keep pushing it back. I think the NFL needs to make some type of verdict because at least there's something there that people fine will debate on, but at least the verdict's out. There's no waiting, there's no, more investigation that needs to be done. I think that everything is kind of, spilling out onto the table. And the settling to correct Shrikar's point, Deshaun offered the 100K. They did not take it. So it
Sorry,
wasn't
I got mixed
Deshaun
up.
didn't want
Yeah,
the
yeah.
100K, other way around.
Mhm.
Um, Again, that's all alleged. But what we do know now is the cases have been settled. My guess is Deshaun's probably not going to talk to the media for a good while. He waited about I want to say March, so April, May, June, 3 months before he spoke. It was March 25th, and then he spoke late June. So I don't expect him to talk anytime soon, but you can obviously see through different pressers he's been very iffy on his answers, and I frankly don't know what they're going to dish out. Again, Shrikar does. It's pretty logical. I can't predict a suspension. What I do know though is, from a football perspective, he's looked good and bad at camp. And honestly, a 26-year-old dealing with this type of just buzz from millions and millions of people, it's got to affect him in some way in terms of playing. And you can see it. There's been some bad throws in practice. There have been some bad drives. So I'm sure it's affecting him. And who knows? Maybe this might be, the start of the end for a player that's just really, really talented. Time will tell. Obviously, as a Browns fan, this sucks. It really does. Um, and we'll see where it goes from there. In other news, not as somber, but it's pretty sad to say. Rob Gronkowski is retiring for the second time in 3 seasons, I believe. Um, this is a 4-time champ. People like to call him the greatest tight end ever. I won't go there. I think it's still Tony Gonzalez because of what he went through with quarterbacks and also how consistent he was for so long. But there's a case for it, and I'll listen to an argument. I just haven't been persuaded yet by anyone. But yeah, I'll let Shrikar give his thoughts. Maybe I'm pretty sure he probably has him as the GOAT tight end. But
I don't.
oh, really?
No, I don't. I think he's the most dominant tight end ever. I don't think that makes
Like
any
I
debate.
agree. I think his peak is probably the best. Like that 2011 season with the 17 touchdowns was just incredible.
Mhm.
Um, that's not normal for a tight end. And yeah, I think at his peak he was everything you wanted.
Yeah.
I remember those days where it'd be Jimmy Graham and Gronk, but Gronk was just better than Jimmy Graham, like a better version. So yeah, I agree with you there. But you got Tony G with me.
I got Tony. I think Shannon Sharp should be included in that conversation too.
As much as I love Shannon Sharp more than anybody in
He's
this.
at least in that top five. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, I think with Shea, it was just he changed it. He helped change it because he was the first receiving tight end. He could not block. Like Coach Shanahan would say that he could not block. But the way he could catch the ball and maneuver, for a guy who was bigger was crazy. I
mhm.
mean, I'd probably go 1 Tony, 2 Gronk. 3 is tough. It's between Gates and Sharp, I think, in my mind.
Ga-
Um,
I go Gates there.
Yeah, I would probably go Gates and then I'd go 4 Sharp. That's probably my list.
Probably
Um,
5 Ditka. What do you
I would
think?
go 5. I mean, there's Ditka out there. There's also like Kellen Winslow.
Hmm.
Another guy I'm thinking about is Jason Witten. Um, but I'd probably go Ditka at 5. So yeah, I mean, little history there for tight ends for you.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, Gronk is a hell of a player. I I thought he would go one more year with Brady and all them, but I think he's satisfied with his career and he's taken a lot of damage for people who kind of just started watching football. A lot of damage.
Well, there are rumors that, and this is from his agent himself, but if he might be willing to come back if Brady gives him a call in, November or something, and he can go out and pursue another ring. But as it stands, I'm not going to really predict that. But
I mean, yeah, I think his heart is just not in it football as much as it was before. And that's fine. I mean, he's what, over 30 now? Like
I don't
he's
know.
had his time.
I wouldn't question a player's heart, but like I just don't know if his, the wear and tear, like you
No,
said.
but that's the thing, right? Once you're like 30, it's like, oh my God, another year of practicing all before camp, another year of practicing all throughout the year, right? Like that, I feel like people, players are less inclined to that, and that's why he's willing to come back later in the year so he doesn't have to go through all that. He's still good, probably. He knows the game, he knows the X's and O's, he doesn't have to learn anything. I think that's why we see a lot of these players do this. And like, for example, Eric Weddle, true veteran, one of the smartest safeties in the 21st century, comes in. Hey, he's not, as physically gifted as he once was. Leads the league, or not leads the league, leads the Rams in tackles in the one of the biggest games of the year. I feel like something can happen like that for Rob Gronkowski. But again, if anyone wants in the comments to shoot me a argument for why he's the GOAT tight end, I will listen. Just no one's persuaded me yet. So if you can get me to switch over, I don't know, we'll give you a prize or something.
Free Gronk jersey.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. I guess that's kind of literally been the news for the week. We were gonna talk about 2 teams, one for each conference, that contenders should fear. Like, who are they fearing the most? Because in each conference, there's kind of your bubble of who are the best, right? In the AFC, it's the Bills, it's the Chiefs. I guess the Bengals are now in there because they made the Super Bowl, right? That's kind of your little inner circle, and then maybe the Ravens are pushing it, and then the NFC, it's the Packers, Rams, and Bucks. I think that's the true, little circle, and people are trying to stick their way in that. But I'll let Shrikar start off. Let's go with the NFC. What's your team for the NFC? The team should fear.
So the New Orleans Saints are my team that teams should fear, and the Saints have added some talent in the offseason. You look at Jarvis Landry. I love the Tyrann Mathieu signing. You have the 2 first-round picks. Now people are asking, what do you make of Jameis Winston? I think he's a prime candidate for comeback player of the year. I think he can really thrive, even with Dennis Allen at the helm. You still have Pete Carmichael, so I think the Saints can make it work. I think they definitely are a team that could, give some opposing teams a run for their money, especially in the Superdome. I mean, Saints fans really bring it, so I think the Saints are my team here.
Yeah, my mom was just down there in New Orleans, got to check out the dome. Uh, I'm not as high on the Saints from that perspective. I do think they will be at least an 8-win team. I don't think they're going to be in the in the bottom of the league. They're just too good all around and from a personnel standpoint. I just don't think they have the upside this year that people are giving them, and that's not saying it can't happen. I'm just very skeptical on a lot of ends, especially without Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton was one of the most valuable coaches in this league. I had him at like 3. I was one of the biggest Sean Payton fans out there. So I don't know. I mean, obviously it kind of looked like a well-oiled machine even without him. Obviously we saw the game against the Bucks. Their offense couldn't do anything, but their defense was great in that 9-0 victory against Tampa Bay at Tom Brady. So you never know. I'm just not as high. I think they'll be right there at the cusp of playoffs again, like they were last year, mainly because there are a lot of teams better. And this is a team that I think people are fearing because of the upside as well, and that's the Vikings. We've been saying this for years right now. It's like they have the roster, they have the talent. Why can't they just put it together? And people like to blame it on Kirk Cousins. I don't really do that. I think it's really just finishing games, and I think that was a byproduct of Mike Zimmer. I thought he was a great coach when he first came in. His schemes got outdated, and the team just didn't rally around him. I've said it 100 times. They didn't look as passionate as other teams were on sidelines. They looked kind of done with the season at the end. Straight mediocrity. It really gets to you because it's like you're right there, but why aren't you there? And I think with Kevin O'Connell, who's younger, he just won a ring. He's hungry for more. I'm sure of it. I think Kirk Cousins is serviceable. I don't think he's going to win you a Super Bowl. But I think as a team, you got to fear them. If you're playing the Vikings, that's a team that can win on any given Sunday, no matter who you're facing, because they have the talent to do it. Justin Jefferson is, world class. I still think Adam Thielen can bring it. Dalvin Cook is a stud. I think the offensive line will get better with Christian Darrisaw finally entering his second year. And the defense has a lot of playmakers, and I hate when people say Harrison Smith isn't a top 10 safety because in my mind, he still is. And that Vikings defense is only going to get better. Just got Andrew Booth. So let's see how he can do kind of lining up alongside Patrick Peterson. I'm really excited for the Vikings. I finally think this is the year they break it through and make it as a wild card team. I don't think they beat or win the division, but hey, there's a team that has given the Packers trouble in the regular season, and it's been them. They're 3-1 against A-Rod in the last 7 matchups. So I think if anyone's going to do it, it's the Minnesota Vikings. At least pull off that type of crazy upset in the playoffs as like a 6 seed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? Like a 1 versus 6. If any 6 seed is going to do it out of the NFC, I got Minnesota.
Well, we saw it in that Saints upset in the Dome. So Minnesota, first-time head coach in Kevin O'Connell. As you said, good amount of talent. I think aside from the Niners, they are the biggest wild card in the NFC because, look, Kirk Cousins can win you games. For much of last year, he was pretty solid, and at least he was taking care of the ball. I think it's that second half of the season where everything kind of, fell off. But look, I agree with you. I think the Vikings could definitely give opponents a run for their money again, which is what this segment is all about. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's just all up to Kevin O'Connell, and that McVay tree is looking pretty solid right now.
I would say one thing. I don't even think it was the second half of the year because they started off really slow. They were like 1-3.
But it was never because of Cousins.
Yeah, 100%. Like he was 33-7, and I don't think there was maybe 1 or 2 games that I blamed him. For the Vikings, it was literally 0-6 in or not 0-6. They lost 6 games by 1 possession.
Yeah,
that you're not making the playoffs. The Browns had the same thing. It's like both those teams were just right there, couldn't close the deal. Right. So moving on to the AFC, I'll start it off. This is a team that I was high on last year, and obviously people know why. It's because of number 2, but he's not there anymore. There's a new number 2 in town, Matt Ryan, and it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. I think if there's any team that's just not being talked about as like a potential dark horse for even making like the AFC Championship game, it's these guys. I think Frank Reich is the most underappreciated head coach in football right now. To do what he has done, like winning season after winning season with 5 different quarterbacks in 5 different years, I mean, that's crazy for an offensive play caller to have to contribute to each of their strengths, each of their new throwing motions, each of their different footwork, each of how they play, and to still get productive offenses year in, year out without a true number 1 wide receiver. I think it's just phenomenal. And if you don't have him in your top 10 of head coaches right now, you need to change your list. The Colts, great defense. I think they had a lot of flashes last year. O-line has always been good. It's going to continue to be good. Jonathan Taylor, he has a case for the best running back in football. I won't go there, but people will make it. And receiving core is not great, but I think Matty Ice will take way more control of the football. He's very smart. He's very technical. And I think that's what you need with this type of team. They will win those games that slow down. That's the team that the Colts are. They will win those type of games. I think they're a better version of the Steelers, and I think they will win their division. And I would not be shocked at all if they pull off upsets on the road. They are built to win in different environments. They're not just a dome team, even though Matty Ice has been a dome quarterback. Their formula, run the ball, play some good defense, that will work in the playoffs, and that's why I think it's the Colts.
Yeah, me and Anish for basically the entire offseason since the Matt Ryan trade, we've been in lockstep about the Colts. We both are pretty high on them. I think they did a nice job to upgrade from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, despite having no first-round pick. I think that's a great job
I wouldn't say.
Backhanded compliment, but I mean,
I wouldn't say upgrade. No, I'm kidding. There you go.
the Colts. I mean, they should be a playoff team though, and yeah, I agree. They could definitely swing a first round upset. The team I was gonna go with, Las Vegas Raiders. I've talked about them before, and I am really in love with what Derek Carr could do this year with that receiver or with that, you look at his weapons, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller. I mean, that is a hell of a supporting cast there. But my only real problems are, especially on the back end, just the defense. Because aside from Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, it's like, and you're going up against a QB driven division. So that's really my only cause for concern. But if we're talking outside the division, the Raiders can really just compete with anybody. And I think Derek Carr is going to have a career year this year. I said it either last episode or 2 episodes ago when we did that segment. But I think the Raiders could really mess with a lot of contenders.
I'm higher now on the. I've always never liked the Raiders system. I've always thought they were mediocre or worse, and they proved me wrong last year. This year I'm high on them. I'm finally giving them some love, and I would also say their back end I don't think is their problem. I think it's their line because their back end. I like Trayvon Merrick, and I think Nate Hobbs. People gave me a lot of heat for not putting him in my top 5 second-year corners. That's not saying he wasn't a top 5 second-year corner last year. I just think teams will get better, or sorry, players will get better than him. But he was really, really good in certain stretches. So, got to shout out those two guys there. And for the Raiders, the reason why I didn't put them, it's not even because I don't think they'll do well in the regular season. I just don't see this team beating playoff teams. I feel like they're just outmatched. Like that's the problem. The Colts, I feel like can hang toe to toe with their formula. The Raiders, I feel like just aren't as good as other teams at what they do. That's why I think the Raiders would lose those type of games on the road versus where the Colts, if they have to play on the road versus one of these powerhouses, I feel like they could win it, which they've kind of shown before, like at Buffalo, last year. I know it wasn't in a playoff game, but like at least you saw how they did it. I just haven't really seen the Raiders do that. And you can kind of tell against the Bengals, right? The Bengals just did what they wanted to do better, and it's kind of why they lost. So that's why I didn't pick the Raiders. But in terms of like the regular season and any team that has offensive upside, it's these guys. That's why I would say it's a good pick, but I think the Colts would be a better one in my kind of world.
Yeah, and I think to your point about the O line, outside of Colton Miller, I think it's a mess. So I hear you there, but Carr made it work last year, and he
Yeah.
has upgraded weaponry, which is why I still kind of believe in that working. And another thing is just Josh McDaniels. Just how is it going to change? How is the system going to change?
I'm nervous about it. Like
I'm pretty nervous too.
I know his one stint shouldn't define him in where did he do it at Denver? I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
It was 8-8. Like it wasn't bad. I'm pretty sure that was the Tebow year, if I'm
Yeah,
not
it was.
mistaken.
Mhm.
So he made the playoffs. Like it's not like the dude didn't do bad. It was weird up until that point. And I don't really know how he's gonna fare as a head coach. He's not gonna back out of him like he did the Colts. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, I would say honestly, right as of right now, I have him fourth in the division. And I
I
feel
do.
like yeah, and there are a lot of people that I think are saying that, which is, which sucks to say for a team that just, was so good last year, but it's kind of the situation they're put in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the divisions are brutal.
All right, so our final segment of the day, and it's something we're going to do moving forward. At least we're going to do it every week till the season starts. I had to kind of force Srikar to do it. So if you start liking this, I get all the credit. It's a little bit of a fantasy football segment. I've been wanting to do it, and this is kind of the peak time, from June to kind of end July, end of August, right? I like to draft late, but I know some people like to draft early. So we're going to kind of give you our consensus top 5 fantasy players. And I'll give you an order. This is just, I guess, my 5 and Srikar's 5. Spoiler, I kid you not, we didn't even think about it, or we did it separately, and it's the same 5. I think we just have a slightly different order. So I'll go first. At number 1, I got Jonathan Taylor. He was the best fantasy back last year. He won the crown. And what was there not to like? And it was crazy because he started slow till like week 4, and then he just bursted. Like he went crazy. I believe he had 20 touchdowns and like over 2,000 scrimmage yards, of course. He kind of had that like Derrick Henry like season that he had, that he's been having for the last 2 years. The thing is, Derrick Henry was having it as well for the first half of the year until Jonathan Taylor really surpassed him, partly because he was hurt. So that's why Derrick Henry is my number two. I think Jonathan Taylor will just get more opportunities than Derrick Henry. I think he has a better offensive line behind him. And I also think their offense is just really catered around him. And he really makes that thing go. Derrick Henry is, in my opinion, people are going to get mad at this. I think people have figured out different ways to stop him. Jonathan Taylor is more versatile. With Derrick Henry, you can stack the box and put swingers on the outside. It's a very simple blitz concept. It's called like an edge type of blitz that people use. It usually is it's like a 4-4 split that you'd like to have, 4 down front. With Jonathan Taylor, you can't really do that because he's quicker off first run, or like when he touches the ball. So yeah, I got JT at 1, I got Henry at 2. At 3, I got my guy Cooper Kupp, my little Cooper Kupp. Man, it's crazy to just see how far he's come and become just an absolute star. Best receiver season of all time in my opinion last year. I think he's gonna continue and do the same type of stuff. Even though Allen Robinson is there, I think I don't think he's gonna be as productive as Robert Woods kind of was, or Allen or OBJ. I think he'll probably be in that mix, but just not maybe the same as those guys. So I think Cooper Kupp's just really going to thrive, and I think with Allen Robinson taking the top off of some of the defenses. At 4, I got a guy that I've always loved, and I know he went to Stanford, go Cal Bears, but it's Christian McCaffrey. Love that dude, and I really hate the slander that goes towards his name, and it really sucks because 2 straight injury years have just people just forget that he was a 16-game running back for the first 3 years of his career. Never got injured at Stanford. But yeah, I got him at 4. I think even coming back, he's still one of the most valuable and productive backs in the league. Yards per play dipped by 4 when he got injured after week 3, which is crazy to me. And then at number 5, I got my guy who I was just all in on last year, and now I think people are all in on him, Austin Eckler. One of 2 running backs with, I believe, 20 touchdowns last year. Yeah. So I'm all in on him. I think at number 5 is a good spot. Just because I think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have really established themselves as those 2 receiver dudes. And I know the Chargers are kind of looking for that number 3, so maybe they'll kind of throw a little bit more towards the F in their offensive scheme. But Eckler is crazy outside the numbers, in between the tackles. He's just all around great. He'll be that 1-yard touchdown running back that you can rely on. So he's my number 5.
Yeah, so as Anish said, we have the same players, different order. 1 and 2 are the same. I got JT at 1. Obviously led the league in rushing yards last year. He was virtually unstoppable. And with Matt Ryan, they're still going to ground and pound. They're still going to run the ball. So that's the formula. And I think Taylor can repeat that success. So I have Taylor at 1. Derrick Henry at 2. When he was on the field, he was on a tear. So I'm not going to, discount him just because of 1 year where, he had an injury. So
also, people also bring up the playoff game. For the last 3 years now, it was like 60 yards against the Chiefs. He really got stuffed. The Ravens game, they killed him with those swingers that they threw. He was bad. And then in the playoff game against who did the Titans play? The Bengals. Yeah, he didn't look the same.
Yeah, but fantasy's not in the playoffs. There's going to be defenses that won't be able to stop him in the regular season. So I'll have him at 2. At 3, I'm going to go with CMC, and I'm going to have Eckler at 4. Now, you might be wondering, why is CMC over Eckler? CMC's been hurt. Well, Eckler's been hurt too. Literally in 2020, he got hurt. So there's no, big jump in a health factor between CMC and Eckler. And when they're on the field, I'm taking McCaffrey over Eckler too. So
right. Mm-hmm.
I go McCaffrey 3, Eckler 4. But that doesn't mean I'm not excited to see what Eckler. Eckler is going to be a beast this year. So number 5, I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. And I think with Robinson, Anish kind of stated, I think Cooper Kupp is still going to be able to produce, and more attention will be brought away from Cooper Kupp rather than towards him with Robinson in tow, because it's another weapon you got to account for. But Stafford's not going to decline. I'd hope not. Robinson's there. I don't think he's going to hit 1,964 yards again, but I think we're going to see him be elite again. So Cooper Kupp at 5, and if you're going to go with the receiver, Anish told me we were seeing some Jefferson, over Cup.
Yeah, or Jamar Chase.
No, I'm going
I'm
Cooper Kupp.
going my guy with my
I-
guy.
It's got to
Stamp
be
it.
Cooper Kupp. Yeah.
Stamp it
So,
down.
so those are my
Cooper, my
5.
little Cooper Cup. Yeah, I think he's still gonna get all the double teams in the world, but he's just so
But
good.
he
I
can
mean,
work
like,
around it. He's done it before.
yeah. If anything, I guess maybe a dark horse to be receiver one could be Debo. You guys know I love him. I think because partly because Trey Lance just won't be as good, so he'll be like, no, I'm kidding.
Okay.
He'll be used. He'll be used. Like I feel like they're still gonna use him in the same role that made him such a well-known household name last year.
We'll see.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, I think finally has usurped Adam Thielen as like Minnesota's top X. So he'll get, way more targets than, because last year Thielen was low-key getting more targets than him to start the year. And then Jefferson just blasted off, towards the end. But obviously, those two are definitely in the conversation for receiver one. Devontae Adams has still got to be up there. And Tyreek Hill, for all these people that think Tua is going to decrease his numbers, you really just have no clue how football works. You are a media writer and someone who is driven off agendas. Watch football, learn some schemes, and then you'll see that Tyreek Hill will probably thrive in this, maybe even more than Kansas City. I won't go that far, but it could happen. Yeah, so I think I think that should be the consensus 5. I don't really see an argument for guys like Dalvin Cook. I was thinking about Nick Chubb if Deshaun were to go down, but Kareem Hunt's looking for a new contract, and I think the Browns do want to use him because if they don't want to give him the contract, they want to up his trade value. So that's another, I guess, kind of, backhanded thing to preventing Chubb from just going crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, Christian McCaffrey, for those who are kind of worried about the injuries and stuff like that, because I want to focus on him a little bit. Look, the Panthers will be bad. They will be a team that people just kind of gloss over. Even with Baker Mayfield, I hope Baker Mayfield goes there because I would love to see Baker and Christian in the same backfield. I think with either quarterback, you saw it. It didn't matter the quarterback. He was still so productive on every touch he got. And just out of the backfield to have someone that good of a security blanket it's so nice. Again, I wouldn't rule out other stars like Alvin Kamara. I think that's definitely a guy you shouldn't be afraid to target in the first or second round. Joe Mixon, he finally had a consistent good year, but when we talk about the cream of the crop, top 5, I think it's these guys. So yeah, I think we're in consensus on that, which is pretty crazy. The fact that we didn't even talk about it and our 5 were literally the exact same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but let us know in the comments if you think anybody really deserves it over these 5. I'm willing to listen. I just don't think there really is a case from what I've deduced. But throw it out there, and I guess we'll see, as time goes on. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We've been the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast, and we will see you guys next time.